Are we live? All right, we are live, everyone. Welcome back to the ARC Racing Podcast. Back on a Tuesday. We are finally being able to do a show on the day I actually want to do the show. A lot of the entry lists have been coming out late lately, so we've been having to do the show on Thursday. But this is the day I actually want to do the show. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. That's my usual date of doing the show. So we finally get to do the show on the day I want to get to do it. But anyway, guys, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Colby Evans, a.k.a. Starting Park Car here, kind of with a smaller show for you guys today. We are not previewing any races. This is an off weekend for the ARCA Menard series, all three divisions. We are simply just going to be reviewing a race for you guys today. It only happened literally a couple days ago, a rare Sunday night ARCA race at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds Dirt Track, the second of the two dirt races that ARCA runs every year. It's been a long-standing tradition in the series. And, you know, one of the things that we love about DuQuoin is that it's fast, and it really does tear up some stuff. Whether you're a high-budget team or a low-budget team, DuQuoin holds no bounds. It tears up everything. So we're going to get into that race. Venturini back in victory lane. It is so hard to believe that's only the third time that's happened this season. We're going to talk about that as well. Sawalich, even though he didn't win, he still ran good. What does the championship battle look like? What does the ownership championship battle look like? The rest of the season, we're really winding down this season now. My last race of the season as a crew member, and it's a potential 2025 schedule talk. So we'll also talk about, guys. We'll go through my little intro, and we will get right into the DuQuoin action. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, on Twitter, X, whatever the heck you want to call it, on Starting Park Car on there. We are only 25 followers away from 6,000 followers on there. So if you like what you see here and if you enjoy my time, go give me a follow on there. And, of course, with YouTube, we are less than 20 subscribers away from 2,000 subs. So if you like this podcast, please click the like button, number one. And number two, hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 2,000 subscriber, guys, which I didn't even think I did 1,000 on here. So the fact that we're close to 2,000 is a miracle, but I guess they always say always believe in miracles. And of course, check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR meter related content. And of course, super chats are open. Super chats are open if you'd like to financially support the show. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome to send one if you want. You guys might also notice I am not in my usual office. We decided to change it up a bit. I am still in the office, but now I come to you guys in front of my racing collection. And if I move out of the way real quick, you guys can see about half of it. That's a nose right there. I'm doing this in front of my racing collection now because I thought it'd be a better backdrop. I know you guys like the fish. I know you guys like the fish backdrop, but I thought I would try this for a change. Although if people like the fish, we'll go back to the fish backdrop. But anyway, guys, you're here for DuQuoin. So let's talk about DuQuoin. Obviously, the second of the two dirt tracks, my personal favorite of the two dirt tracks. No disrespect to Springfield, but in terms of what it looks like to race on and, the overall, what drivers say, the handling of the car, it looks like it'd be more fun. Treacherous. Sometimes treacherous is more fun. That DuQuoin would be more fun to race on than Springfield. One of the more positive things this season has been the car counts. And thankfully, both dirt races this season saw a huge uptick in car counts compared to last year. And for this race as well, DuQuoin had really kind of struggled with car counts along with Springfield. Usually the same amount of cars that would show up to Springfield would end up being the same amount of cars that show up to DuQuoin. Like, for instance, last year we only had 18, I believe, at both of them. And this year we had over 20. We had originally 24 on the entry list, but one car did withdraw. Eric Caudell in the 7. It's kind of sad, even after the big payout that Eric got from the Pinnacle Racing Group after Daytona. I wish we would have seen more of Eric this season. Kind of surprising that we only saw him at Talladega since then. So I wish we could have seen Eric, but still 23 cars nonetheless. I knew we were going to have a couple of starting parks because it's the dirt race. Some teams are there just for points because they have to be there, like Brad. Brad has to be there because he has to be there for ARCA points. The 86, obviously, they're there trying to build up points for 2025. The 0, they're trying to build up points for 2025 as well, I think. And
And then you did have a couple of oddball entries in there. You got Tim Monroe back in the 12. I believe that is his own car, though, he purchased from Fast Track Racing. So great to see Tim back there. Kelly Kovsky, always good seeing him back. I hope one of these days he can get that win with the Allgaier team. Brent Cruz, he was back in the 20 after supposedly he was supposed to drive at Springfield, but that deal got mixed up. Taylor Reimer, she was back again in the 55. Brayton Laster was back in the 31. Austin Vaughn made his ARCA Menard Series debut driving the 06 for Peterson, but it was not a Peterson racing car. It was, I believe it was under Larry Wilcox's operation. And short story on him, Larry Wilcox runs in Bob Schatz's Grand National Super Series, which is kind of a bring what you run race car series. You can run old stock cars in the series. Like people run Hooters Pro Cup cars, old Cup cars, Busch cars. Somebody runs like a 1980s Cup car in that series. It's like a run what you bring kind of series. It's a fun little series that Bob runs. I wish that series got some more spotlight as well. It is a fun little series. Jeremy Mayfield, for instance, still runs in that series. And that's where Austin has been running for Larry Wilcox's team, because Larry runs in the series. Got his approval for ARCA, and through some help using Peterson's number, made his debut in the 06. So then the 0 entry of Nate Muller, that was actually a Peterson car. They brought the black Ford and simply just covered up the 6 to make the classic Peterson 0. So just wanted to clarify that. This was not 2 cars for Peterson. One was Peterson's, and the other one belonged to Austin Vaughn and Larry Wilcox's team. So just wanted to clarify that out of the way. We also had Dalen Hairston making his debut for Andy Hillenberg. He wanted to run some East races earlier this year. I'm not really sure what happened there, but still great to see more newcomers. Quarterman Dale Quarterly running the same car that Ryan Unzinger and Bill Hendren won at this very race 2 years ago. He had really crashed the car at one of the dirt races last year. Unfortunately, had to spend almost a year rebuilding it. And Will Kimmel. Will Kimmel came back for the dirt race because, he finished second here last year, so he's got to try again. And then, of course, Sean Core. He was back for his second dirt race appearance as well. So definitely some different heads, but at the same time, I don't know. Did I pick Brent Cruz on last week's show? I don't know if I did or not. I don't remember exactly my notes from last week, but I think I picked Brent Cruz because, he dominated Springfield last year. I think he won by almost 20 seconds at Springfield last year. So it was just kind of a no-brainer pick. If anyone was going to beat Sawalich on the dirt tracks, it was going to be him. I thought it was kind of interesting coming to find out that William Sawalich wasn't actually driving a JGR car at the dirt races this year. It's kind of cool. He was driving a former Athenian Motorsports car. He who should not be named, John West Townley. I know that name is kind of, weird now, but his old team, Athenian Motorsports, that was that chassis. It was an old Athenian Motorsports chassis that they converted for a dirt car, as most ARCA teams do. Even the higher budget teams will run older cars for the dirt races because you're likely to tear some stuff up. And then, for instance, the motor that was in that 18 car came from the defunct MDM Motorsports, not MBM, MDM. They won the championship with Sheldon Creed in 2018 and shut down right after that. So you might remember they ran the 99 truck that Bubba Wallace won with at Michigan many years ago. So, yeah, kind of, it's the stories like that. It's like, that's cool. Even a team like JGR using old other teams' chassis, that's cool. And again, it's just stories like that why I love the series. But yeah, a decent field of cars. Like I said, the 1 mile dirt track, DuQuoin, Illinois. I would love to get out there sometime for these races because I really don't live that far. I really don't live that far from Springfield or the DuQuoin tracks, but it's just money. In today's world, money's tight, so I can't really make it to every race. Otherwise, I would have been at the dirt races personally the last couple years. But we got practice going, and unfortunately, the one thing that DuQuoin has kind of been known for is bad track prep. Track prep has kind of been one of the biggest problems at DuQuoin in the last couple years. Who can forget the 2021 race where literally 6 cars finished due to the track absolutely murdering almost every car in the field? And even the cars that did finish the race were pretty beat up. So, yeah, it's kind of, unfortunately, it's got a bad rep, does DuQuoin, because of its bad track prep. And unfortunately, it had rained very heavily overnight. So there were a lot of people, I was talking with some friends, and they were a little worried that the track was going to be pretty tough to drive on. But credit is due to the people at DuQuoin. They did try their best. They were taking no slouches or approaches to making sure the track was as good and ready as possible for practice. And, props to Taylor Reimer for being the first car out there. That could not have been very easy on a very bare track like that. And she still laid down a flyer of a lap. I think she ended up being fastest in practice, mainly due to being one of the first cars out on track, and got that flying lap in on lap 2. The only car in practice to go under 35 seconds. Brent Cruz was second. Will Kimmel, third. William Sawalich, fourth. And LeVar Scott, fifth. A couple of the full-timers that kind of struggled on the dirt. Christian Rose down in 10th. And Tony Breidinger, who had actually just gotten cleared from a foot injury. There were rumors that maybe Isabella Robusto might replace her. There were rumors that she might have gotten replaced before the race, but she got cleared. And she was down in 16th. Not many people took practice laps. Well, everybody did take a practice lap, but not many people ran more than a few laps, is what I meant to say. I think the car that ran the most laps in practice was William Sawalich, who ran only 26 laps. 26 laps of practice. Some people out there literally just made one lap, like Nate Muller, who ran like one, and then a couple of guys ran two. So you don't need a whole lot of practice laps on a dirt track sometimes. Once you get your bearings down up to lap 5 or 6, sometimes they call that good. But qualifying came up a little bit later, and we saw kind of a more familiar story up front. William Sawalich got the pole, and the 20 car was second. So shocker there, huh? The 18 and the 20 back on the front row. It's just like the ARCA days of last year, where it was the 18 and the 20 car every week. So yeah, Sawalich on the pole yet again. I don't even know how many poles in a row that is for him. Brent Cruz second, Kelly Kovsky third, Andres Perez de Lara fourth, Chris Wright fifth, LeVar Scott sixth, Will Kimmel seventh, Taylor Reimer eighth, Amber Balkin actually with a decent qualifying run in 9th, and Sean Corn 10th. All cars took a lap except for Alex Clubb. He got some underbody damage. Just some underbody damage, but he was able to start the race. Now, the weird part about this ARCA race is that by the time it starts, it's usually right in the middle of the Southern 500, which is the NASCAR Cup race that happened also this past Sunday night. I don't know why they start at the exact same time. I've always been confused by that, but I don't make the start times. I don't make the rules. I love the fact that we have a dirt race at night, but to run during a cup race, I don't know. You're just asking for poor viewership, but I had the cup race on my TV, and I had the ARCA race playing on my laptop. So I was still able to watch both at the exact same time. Kind of trying to take notes on the ARCA race while watching that great battle with Chase Briscoe and Kyle Busch wasn't easy. I admit I had to rewatch parts of the race because I literally was not paying attention at all because I was cheering hard for Kyle Busch to win. So, and Kyle's not even my favorite driver. I just wanted to see Kyle win again. So I admit I had to rewatch the race because I missed a lot. I admit that. That's why you guys didn't see me live tweeting the ARCA race, because I was so focused on the Cup race. I'm not sure how many of you guys did that same thing, but that was kind of me. So we got the race going, and right out of the gate, despite restarting on William Sawalich, takes the inside. Brent Cruz gets the good run on the outside and takes the lead. And yeah, honestly, didn't look back. Didn't look back there. Kind of a spoiler alert. Brent Cruz, really good on the dirt, and shocker, pulls away very quickly from William Sawalich. Update on the starting parks. The zero car actually pulled off, and I love the game of cat and mouse that sometimes these starting parks play. The zero of Nate Muller pulled off after lap 1. The 86 would follow on lap 3. The 48 would follow on lap 4, and the 10 would follow up on lap 5. The zero car then goes back out and passes all of them and finishes 20th. So takes the 86 back down to last again. Brad down to 22nd, the 10 down to 21st, and the 0 ended up 20th. I love those games of cat and mouse with starting parks. It's just those little things that I find so hilarious. So yeah, Brent Cruz gets out front. William Sawalich actually drops to third. Kelly Kopsky managed to get by him for second. We had our first yellow on lap 8. Unfortunately for Austin Vaughn, looks like he just overcooked it off of turn 2. But unfortunately for Austin Vaughn, he got caught in, deep mud. Mud that had not really been prepped. It was just deep mud. That car was not going anywhere. So poor Austin lost quite a few laps while they tried to literally tow him out. Eventually got going again, but, any kind of shot at a good run was gone because he was already 4 laps down at that point. He was just trying to, get his experience in and finish the race. So we got back going green again. And it was at this point kind of what also DuQuoin is known for. And I mean, the dirt races in general, cars overheating. And it was during this second run, Brent Cruz and William Sawalich, they're pulling out front. They got, they're getting not as bad buildup on their front grills. Both rev cars are just caked in mud. Okay. The 55 is caked in mud. The 15 is caked in mud. The 69 is caked in mud. The 8, every car's nose is just caked in mud. And unfortunately for some of these guys, they started to overheat. The 69 of Will Kimmel, he started smoking. He unfortunately dropped out after 31 laps. Dale Quarterly, who, like I said, he had finished rebuilding this car earlier this year. He crashed hard, so he was out of the race, probably screwed up the car again. Poor Dale, he wanted to give dirt racing a try again, and it hasn't been going very well. And then it said Will Kimmel had to go behind the wall. Sean Corr had to go behind the wall, both due to mechanical problems, due to stemming from the engine overheating. So, yeah, we were losing cars pretty fast, and that's just the nature of these dirt races. It tears up stuff. It just does. This track is very, very hard. Is very, very hard on equipment. I almost feel like it's a little bit tougher on these bodies because, back in the day we had the steel bodies. With these plastic composite bodies, the dirt's going to tear it up a lot easier than it would back in the day with the steel bodies. So maybe that's why we didn't notice as much damage back then, because the steel bodies kind of absorbed it a little bit better. But man, with these composite bodies, these front noses, I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed going into, unless you start in park and run at a very reduced pace, you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself when you start one of these dirt races that you're going to end up replacing the front nose. More than likely, unless you start in park or somehow you run clean as hell, because this track eats up the splitter. Absolutely eats it up. So yeah, like I said, by this point, we're already down to 16 cars, about 40 laps in. This track has taken its toll on car and equipment and driver. It's a very driver-heavy track with how much you have to angle the car going left, going right, on the throttle, off the throttle. We had our first, our next caution of the race on lap 45, Michael Maples, he's kind of had a tough year with his cautions. Michael's definitely brought out his fair share of yellows. I like Michael, though, so I'm not going to – I could put a joke there, but I'm not going to because I like Michael. But he spun around, no harm, no foul. He got going. But they also did count this as the halfway break because we were only like 4 laps away from the halfway break anyway. So we had our halfway break. Race got back going green again. And realistically, that was kind of it. We didn't run. There wasn't any cautions in between there until the very end. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Brent Cruz, man, he just a masterclass of dirt driving. Every lap he was running was just perfect. And it really goes to show you, man, like when you can wheel a dirt car like this, I really, side note, I really wish we could have seen Kyle Larson run a dirt stock car at a track like this. Not dirt Bristol, a track like this. That would be fun. Because, man, Brent Cruz, lap after lap, corner after corner, you would just see him nail the entry and nail the exit. Absolutely perfect. More better than everyone, even the 18 of Sawalich, who will tell you himself he wasn't a dirt racer. But he kept nailing these corners perfectly, lap after lap after lap. And it's like, it's no shocker why he's pulling away from the field, and he's even pulling away from the 18 car. You know, you see a lot of these guys, they struggle to get a good entrance, or they struggle to get through the corner without oversliding the tires, or, you know, washing up too high in the corners. And then you watch the 20 car, and he's just nailing it every single lap. And it's like, wow, you know, Brent Cruz, the kid is so young. He's so young. But just like Connor Zilic, I see a lot of raw talent in Brent Cruz. And I think that goes into his road racing background. His road racing background, short track background, and dirt racing background. You look at all of those mixed together, and it's just it. And I think you could classify that with Connor Zilic too. You really got to get these guys in all forms of racing. You know, I wish Connor Zilic would do dirt. Has he done dirt? I'm not sure if Connor Zilic has actually done dirt, but we might see him in dirt eventually. You know, if everyone wants to race Kyle Larson. I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen's running the Chili Bowl, so why not Connor Zilic running the Chili Bowl? So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, an absolute masterclass was going on. We did lose a couple more cars. Austin Vaughn would eventually pull off with mechanical problems. Alex Clubb was in and out of the garage with mechanical problems. Cody Dennison's window net came down, and apparently trying to make a green flag pit stop under green at DuQuoin. That just sounds awful, because that track really doesn't have a green flag pit road. But props to Cody's team for getting that done. Michael Maples unfortunately retired after mechanical issues after 80 laps. So we were really losing cars here. We were down to 13 cars by the end of the race was coming, and nobody was going to challenge. Nobody was going to challenge Brent Cruz until the trusty late race caution with 6 laps to go. Amber Balkin, who unfortunately has been the cause of most of the yellows a lot of the yellows this season. She had the same issue that happened to Austin Vaughn. She got caught in deep mud. So her car was not going anywhere. So that caused a lengthy yellow. And yeah, we got Cody Dennison in the chat right here. And it's like, so they wanted you to come to a near stop in the middle of turn 4. Yep, that's pretty bad. Or else you were getting a penalty and almost wrecked all the leaders. I can imagine, because if you guys watch it, they are hauling ass off of turn 4. Absolute hauling ass. And Cody's probably going, 30, 40 miles per hour, if that, Cody? So you can imagine the terrifyingness of getting absolutely rear-ended. So yeah, hopefully they'll fix those rules going forward. Obviously, they don't plan on people having to make green flag pit stops, but you know, you got to plan ahead for that. But man, that sucks. 15 miles per hour. Oh boy, even worse. Even worse. Good grief. But yeah, so Amber Balkin, she tore up her car in the last caution. Took a while to get her out. They eventually did get her out. We were going to have a green-white checkered to finish her out. And I'm like, man, is someone going to full send it into the corners? And they tried. I mean, I'll give William Sawalch credit. He tried in that last restart, but nobody was going to beat Brent Cruz. He had him cleared by the time the backstretch came. And you could tell Sawalch was really trying, but the biggest problem he had is he would throw it into the corner and he couldn't get a good groove. Like it would either over-rotate or under-rotate, because it's just so hard to wheel one of those 3,400-pound stock cars around that track. And but he still came up second. Brent Cruz wins. Hard to believe. It is the only the third win for Venturini Motorsports this season. The third win overall for the team. Second win for the 20. William Sawalch finishes second. Andres Perez de Lara third. Chris Wright, got to give him his flowers. He actually did pretty well fourth. Kelly Kovsky fifth. LeVar Scott sixth. Taylor Reimer, she was disappointed with seventh, but still a great finish for her nonetheless. Christian Rose eighth. Tony Breidinger ninth. Tim Monroe, so one of the fast track cars, got a top 10, even though Tim owns that car. 10th. Amber Balkin was scored 11th. Cody Dennison 12th. Brayton Laster 13th. And Alex Clubb in 15th were the remaining cars finishing. 14th was Michael Maples. 16th was Austin Vaughn. 17th, Sean Core. 18th, Will Kimmel. 19th, Dale Quarterly. 20th, Nate Muller. 21st, Dalen Hairston. 22nd, Brad Smith. And 23rd was Brian Clubb. So, yeah, definitely one of those weird ARCA races, that's for sure. Hope you had a good time though, Cody, because like I said, those dirt races look so much fun. They really do. But yeah, the dirt races in ARCA, man, they're hard on equipment. Alex Clubb actually posted a photo. His car looked pretty rough after the race. He'll probably need a new nose. He'll probably need a new nose for sure. He actually broke one of the motor mounts in his car, snapped. He posted a photo of that on his Facebook. That's how tough it is on equipment, man. And, it just begs the question, though, do we need to be going to the dirt tracks? They're fun, but I'm happy with two. Yeah, I'm sure everyone else in the field is too, Cody. I'm sure they're fun, but yeah, I'm sure everybody in the field is happy that they only go twice a year. But at the end of the day, they pay the series to show up. It's been a long-standing tradition. For me, I don't think we need the two dirt races, in my opinion, but I kind of look forward to them every year because I feel like it's the two oddball ARCA races where you never know what can happen. Sometimes you'll get a surprise winner. Sometimes you'll get a chaotic crash. You'll see something you won't see for the rest of the year in the dirt races. So sometimes that's why I look forward and enjoy them. But I do see some people's argument, drivers, owners, and fans alike who don't personally like going to the dirt races due to what can happen, tearing up cars, blowing up motors, et cetera, et cetera. I can see both sides of the argument. I really can. I think it's fair at the same time. But, if they pay the series to show up, they're going to continue to stay on the schedule. And, until they stop doing that or, something else happens, I don't know. We're going to see those two races likely on the dirt schedule for 2025 as well. Luckily for the ARCA series, though, no more Hell Tour. That has been announced. I announced it on last week's show, and we'll say it again on this show. No more weekend Hell Tour, which is the 2 races in 3 days. They are not doing that next year, so I can imagine that's a collective sigh of relief for the teams and even for some of the drivers because traveling, not cheap, and traveling to 2 different races in 3 days, it can definitely be very expensive. But overall, the race was okay. I would say nothing overly special, kind of like Springfield. One guy led the entire way, to be honest with you. It wasn't the most exciting race for the win. Kind of like with Springfield, you could say if the top 2 were not in the race, it would have been a great race. And you could kind of say the same thing about this one, too. Had the top 2 not been in the race, it would have been a great race. But it's just how it is sometimes. You have the teams who spend the most money, they're going to run up front. We've been through this. It's like beating a dead horse argument, man. We've been through this. But the point standings coming out of this race, Andres Perez de Lara extends his lead back up to 46 points over LeVar Scott with just 4 races to go. It shows you we're really winding down this season. Andres Perez de Lara, though, in my opinion, he still needs to win a race, but I don't know how or where he's going to get it done. None of the full-time regulars have won a race this season, which is a little disappointing. I was hoping that one of them could at least pull a win out. Maybe Chris Wright on the road courses or LeVar Scott at the short tracks. Came close. LeVar came close. Or Andres at one of the bigger tracks like a Michigan. But, they've been close. Like I said, they've led laps and they've been close, but just haven't been able to seal the deal, as we call it. And yeah, it's kind of rendered the championship, and like I said, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this argument every week. But again, I think it's a fair take when I say that the championship feels less than, because the guys who are running for the championship every week are not winning. They're running good, but they're not winning. And I feel like it definitely takes away from a championship victory. I've said it a lot where, you could say Jesse Love had one of the easiest championships of all time in 2023 last year, but he still went out and won 10 races. He still proved himself. Not saying that Andres Perez de Lara hasn't proved himself, but he hasn't won. He has not won. And that's not taking anything away from Rev Racing. I got a lot of buddies who work on that team. They bust their freaking asses. They do. Andres is a good driver. LeVar Scott's a great driver. Both solid drivers. Both hard-working crews and teams, but they haven't won. And so I'd say, unfortunately, I just feel like their championship's just a little bit less than. I hope Andres can pull off a win. I just don't see it happening, but I hope he can. I really do. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I agree. And yeah, that's right. You put Andres Perez de Lara in the 18 car. Cody Dennison makes a great argument in the chat. You know, you put him in the 18, he probably would have won up to 12 races by now. It's just the nature of the game. The 18 team is obviously spending more money than them, than Rev Racing. So they're up front more and winning more. It's just the nature of how ARCA works. You know, obviously, if you spend the highest amount of money, you're more than likely going to run up front. So that, you know, that's a very agreeable take right there. At the end of the day, they're working with what they got. I mean, yeah, they're spending a lot of money, no doubt, but obviously the 18 car is just spending more. But I just definitely feels like it takes away a little bit of his championship win. And he's got the championship locked up at this point. I mean, unless Andres like wrecks on lap 1 at every single race going forward, Andres Perez de Lara is your 2024 champion. Yeah, and you know, like I said, you know, like Cody Dennison, he also brings up in the chat, he doesn't mind running the 18 and Venturini team. He likes running with the heavy hitting team, seeing how close you can get. You know, like for a team like Andy Hillenberg's, how close you can get to the Venturinis in the 18 car every week. You know, it helps. It can improve team morale, as they say. It can improve your confidence. Like, man, look at me in this car, being not very far off of this car, which has, you know, 10 times more money. It can be a big confidence booster to driver like Cody or like the whole organization in Fast Track Racing. So, and that brings up a good point. It really does push everybody else in the series in ARCA to make themselves better. That's a really good argument. You know, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, Cody, he's right there battling Amber Balkin and Tony Breidinger weekly. You know, like, and those are Venturini cars. And that, like I said, that improves Cody's confidence as a driver. And like I said, it improves team morale. So, you know, so like I said, he brings up a good point. Cody really does bring up a good point. And so I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that's a very fair argument to say that it is kind of fun running with those bigger organizations. So yeah, and some other news. Yeah, so yeah, the Scottfields team, Skylar and Jeff Scottfield, they'll be running Daytona, Five Flags, Talladega, Nashville, and Bristol in 2025. They are the 07 team. If you guys are familiar with them, they ran at Daytona. Did they run at Talladega? I don't remember if they ran at Talladega or not. But they ran this. Oh, no, wait, they did run Talladega as the 68 car. So yeah, if you guys are familiar with those guys, they are back next year. Yeah, I know, Cody. I know for a track like Charlotte, you'd probably be in the 20. I know. You told me that. I can only imagine. I mean, Cody ran like hell in the 10 car at Charlotte. I can only imagine those ARCA cars at Charlotte that looks fun. Those ARCA cars are completely out of control at Charlotte, hauling ass. That looks fun. That looks fun. So yeah, I agree with you there, Cody. But yeah, there's pros and cons to how much money those top teams are spending for sure. But like I said, there's nothing we can really do about it. I feel like I've beat a dead horse talking about it in terms of, oh, it's this and oh, it's that. I've just kind of accepted that's how it is now. That's how it is, and that's how it's going to be unless, I don't know, Gibbs spends less or Venturini wants to spend less. You know, they charge what they want to charge, and if people pay for it, people pay for it. I mean, what am I going to do about it? I just sit here and talk about it. What am I going to do about it? What's Cody going to do about it? What's anyone going to do about it? What's ARCA going to do about it? I don't know. So, but yeah, it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just beating a dead horse at this point. You know, the 18, the 28, and one of the Venturini cars, they're going to be up front every week because they spend the money to be up front. If Fast Track Racing had that kind of budget, then they would be up front every week with them. If the Kimmel team had that kind of budget, they'd be up front every week with them. It's just all about how much money you got for a budget. If everyone had the same budget, yeah, you're right. The race will be a lot closer, but they don't. So, yeah. Unfortunately, the owner standings have not been updated. Racing Reference, shocker, Racing Reference has definitely regressed. They only have it updated to race 14, and we're on race 16. But I can give you guys an estimate that the 18 car, after losing the Owners' Championship last year, the 18 car is definitely dead set on getting the Owners' Championship back, and they have an over 50-point lead in the Owners' Championship right now with 4 races to go. So I think it's safe to say that Venturini will not be going back-to-back in the Owners' Championship, which is what the Venturini teams really go after when they don't have full-time drivers, is that precious Owners' Championship. So looks like it's definitely safe to say, even with 4 races to go, your Drivers' Champion for 2024 is Andres Perez de Lara, and your Owners' Champion is the number 18 of Joe Gibbs Racing. Obviously, teams competing for that top 20 bonus. Again, this hasn't been updated in a little bit, but I can assume Club is trying to get his 86 car into the top 20 if he already hasn't gotten it there. Like I said, Daytona is expected to have over 40 cars again. We will have DNQs at Daytona next year. I've talked to some people in ARCA. I'm not sure if we're going to reach 50 again. That is unclear, but pretty much have already been confirmed that we will have maybe only a couple of them next year, but we will have DNQs at Daytona. So, because man, ARCA qualifying was insane this year. Might be a little bit less tense next year, but we are expected to have DNQs at Daytona. Yes, yes, Cody. Yes, you will be locked in next year. Yes. Poor Cody, unfortunately, missed the show earlier this year driving the 86 for Club. I was with him on that car, and that was a long day. But yeah, Cody will be locked in next year. We can't talk about his plans for next year just yet. We'll let Cody announce that, but I'm happy for him, and I can't wait for him to tell y'all his 2025 plans. But yeah, Daytona is expected to have DNQs, so it's not shocker why Alex is trying to build up points for his 86 car, and why, a lot of guys like Brad Smith are still showing up to every single race, because Brad's trying to guarantee himself a spot in next year's ARCA field. Because if you remember, I believe Brad got the last spot. It was either the 06 or the 48 got the very last spot in the provisional land earlier this year at Daytona. So, yeah, in terms of 2025, like I said, we kind of went over it last week. Quite a few races that we could say, honestly, will be happening next year that just have not been 100% confirmed yet, but we can kind of assume that they will happen again. Daytona, obviously, the ARCA race at Phoenix, and the West Combo race in the spring, that will more than likely happen again. Talladega, I'm sure that track will be back. Charlotte, that will be back. IRP, that will be back. Iowa, they've already announced Iowa for Cup and Xfinity, so you got to assume Iowa is going to be back there as well. So you can probably look at the ARCA schedule this year and calculate. It's probably going to look almost exactly the same. The ARCA schedules do not change very often. At least the main series one really doesn't change very much. The West Series one, yeah, that's what I mean. In Iowa, for instance, in case you guys don't know, shout out to John Menard. Clive, Iowa. The Clive, Iowa Menards location is actually the number 1 Menards in the company. Kansas has the number 2 Menards in the company. That's why those tracks are so heavily represented in ARCA. They go to Iowa once a year and they go to Kansas twice a year. Is because those Menards are 2 of the most successful Menards in the entire corporation of Menards franchises. So, little tidbit of information right there. I didn't know that myself until a couple of Menards representatives actually told me that at one of the ARCA races a couple years ago. So yeah, you can kind of assume what the schedule is going to look like. I'm sure the West Series schedule will look different. They always go to all different kinds of tracks. The East Series schedule might look a little different as well. I still wish they would get rid of the East Series, merge it with the main division, but that probably won't happen anytime soon. But yeah, you can kind of assume that the 2025 schedule is going to look pretty much similar. I don't think you're not going to see really any oddball tracks on there that will shock you. I hope so. There's a couple of tracks I would love for ARCA to go back to. Kilcare, that little short track that kind of looks like Tri-City in a way. I wish Flat Rock. I know Cody's not the biggest fan of Flat Rock, but I would like to see Flat Rock on the main series schedule. I feel like that'd be fun. Put 25 cars at Flat Rock. That'd be a show right there. Go to Iowa twice a year just because it's my home track. I'd like to see 2 races there. So, but yeah, that's just kind of my little fantasy schedule. So, in terms of, well, actually, I believe Flat Rock, I think Brayton Laster actually let me know today. I believe Flat Rock is actually getting a repave. So, if they go back there next year for the ARCA East Series, which I can assume they will, looks like Flat Rock might actually be getting a full repave. I mean, it's not going to be much. It's a very small track, so they're not going to have to repave a whole lot. But so who knows? And that might be something new. Flat Rock getting a repave. I do wish, though. Let's see. And I think they say Corey Day. Corey Day might be running more ARCA races for Pinnacle. He could probably be Pinnacle's next superstar next year. Did very well at his couple of starts that he's made this year. So I'm sure we could see Corey Day driving for Pinnacle next year. In terms of other drivers, wouldn't surprise me to see Chris Wright return. Does Tony stay in ARCA? That's kind of one thing I've been wondering. You know, Tony, she's been in ARCA for so many years now. I would imagine that Tony might move up to trucks. I could see Amber Balkin staying in ARCA with Venturini again. I know Brad will be back. You know, Peterson will be back. Obviously, Andy will be back. Cody will be back. But yeah, you know, in terms, even though the NASCAR silly season world is lighting up right now, the ARCA silly season world doesn't really light up until a little bit later in the year. It doesn't really start right now. Very few ARCA plans for 2025 are set in stone by now. Most of them are set in stone around like October, even as late as December, even as late as the Daytona test sometimes. That's how late it gets. So, yeah, Club will be back too with 2 cars. They hope to run 2 cars full-time in 2025. So, anyway, guys, I think that's it for me tonight. Not too much to go over. Like I said, we only had a race review. The next ARCA Menard Series event is Watkins Glen. Cody, I hope you're ready for that one. Watkins Glen is nothing like Mid-Ohio. It is fast. So Watkins Glen's my personal favorite road course on the schedule. So I can't wait to talk about that race coming up. In terms of the West Series, I don't even know when their next event is. I know they're taking a couple of big breaks off until their season ends. So till next time, guys, thanks for tuning into the show tonight. And we'll see you on next week's show, Tuesday. Again, it'll be a Tuesday, hopefully, if the entry list comes out. If the entry list doesn't come out, we will do the show on Thursday. Either way, it'll be at 7 p.m. Central Time. So I'm Colby Evans. I'm starting Park Car. Give you all the goodbye salute, and I will see you all on next week's show. So long, guys. Bye-bye.